Hello and welcome to Let Me Be Your Game Guide, a seance episode. These episodes feature games of the horror genre, so grab your salt and holy water as we voluntarily scare ourselves this week. I'm your host, Emma.
This is Luke Carter.
Ooh, spooky Shawn.
Join us for this week's rating episode as we commune with the beyond and enter the gaming spirit world. For the remainder of this episode, let me be your game guide. It's another morning episode.
I'm kind of digging these morning episodes,
too.
honestly.
We're on a
That's pretty
streak.
nice. Yeah.
Is this 3 games in a row that we've recorded in the morning?
Yeah. Yeah, because my schedule sucks.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I'm still not used to it. I streamed yesterday morning and I was like, bye everybody, Emma will be on tomorrow morning. And that's not true.
Yeah.
I like to publicly apologize.
Yeah.
Well, and I told Hayden, I was like, well, I'm streaming on Sunday, so I can't go, we can't do anything in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I was like, oh, wait. No, we're recording. I'm not streaming.
Yeah, I had very loose plans with a friend for today, which is still happening, but we adjusted them a little bit because I just can't. I don't know what my own schedule is.
Yeah,
I'm a mess.
I know.
I understand.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been pretty thrown off. I just edited the episode that's supposed to release on Patreon tomorrow yesterday. It's been a while since I've been this behind.
Yeah, I've been losing a lot of sleep. I think it's safe to say that like playing a horror game really takes a toll on our psyches.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh man, well, what game are we playing today?
We're playing Inscryption,
We are playing Inscryption,
which was a game request by Zephe.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Yeah.
Hi Zephe. Hi Zeph's son.
Hi, Zephe.
And real quick, let me do my plugs,
Yeah.
and then we'll get into the actual game. Before we begin the episode, don't forgive. Don't forgive.
Forgive nothing.
Yeah.
Before we begin the episode, don't forget to give the podcast a follow, rate it, review it, however you want to show us love. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/letmebeyourgg, where you can view episodes early as they post sometime on Sunday, a couple days before the episode posts everywhere else. You can also find us on most socials as Let Me Be Your GG with no spaces. That's LetmeBeyourGG with no spaces. We're on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. If you go over to our YouTube, you can see all of our old streams from Twitch. We, we play on the weekends, just random stuff, typically. Well, yeah, we kind of mix it up, and I can't predict what I'll be playing.
Nope.
But Rylan's on Saturday. I'm on Sunday, unless we're recording. And it's a good time. Every other Thursday, we do a live game trailer reaction for the video games that we're playing for upcoming episodes. And again, you can find those on our YouTube, or you can join us on Twitch every other Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're also on Twitter. Check that out. Shawn gives us little updates, little reminders of everything that's going on.
Trying anyways.
Yeah, and then you can find us on TikTok as Let Me Be Your Game Guide with no spaces. Rylan's taken over the TikToks, and it's really fun. I love all of them.
Yeah.
They're great.
They're so good. Yeah. And we've recently had some blow up.
Yeah.
Boom.
So, boom.
Yeah, for us.
Pretty awesome. So, yeah, for us anyway. Yeah.
You can also email us at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. This is the best way to send in game requests, just like Zephe did.
Just like Zephe.
Yeah, this is a game request game. So just make sure you include game request in the subject line so it's easy for us to find. All right. Take it away, Rylan.
So today we're going to talk about Inscryption. And I'll just say this too. We're also going to talk about this next week. We're going to try to give as few spoilers as possible this episode, but I do think that if you're trying to go into this game completely blind, you should probably skip this one too.
Yeah.
This is a horror deck building game that's pretty non-traditional, I would say. It definitely it has, the similar gameplay loop that you're used to, where you're getting as far as you can, beating bosses, upgrading your deck, and when you lose, you start over. But there's a lot of interesting meta aspects that are going into this as well. You're ostensibly you're locked in a cabin with a weird person, and they are maybe forcing you to play this game, and if you lose, you
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a whole meta element going into this. Otherwise, relatively standard deck builder game where you're
Yeah.
progressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, before we get deeper into the rating of this game, let's talk about the game developers real quick. Inscryption was developed by Daniel Mullins Games and published by Devolver Digital. It's available on PC, Mac, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Xbox Series S and X. It was originally released October 19th, 2021, and when it is not on sale, it is $19.99. I could not find a founding date for Daniel Mullins Games. I don't think there was ever an original founding date. This is just a guy. He has other people working on his games, but this is, if you go to his website, which we'll link in the show notes, it shows kind of all of his the games that he's published. There's 3 of them, including Inscryption, and then also all of his like game jam stuff is on there. So
Cool.
yeah, very cool. The other 2 games other than Inscryption that he's developed are Pony Island, which is a suspense puzzle game, and then The Hex, which is a murder mystery type game. I was reading up on Inscryption, and I think there are some Easter eggs from The Hex.
Totally, yeah.
In Inscryption. So maybe play that game first if you're wanting to catch those.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Daniel Mullins, just from what I've gathered, he seems like he likes to have a lot of Easter eggs and like, meta stuff going on in his games, references
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah,
Very
that's cool.
So if you're into that, I think you should definitely check out his work.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I kind of want to check out The Hex. It looks very cool. And I like a good murder mystery. So
Yeah.
especially after playing this game. So, and just to list some people that were involved in Inscryption, obviously we have Daniel Mullins, the creator. Jonah Senzel was the composer and sound designer. David Hagman was principal 3D art. And then we have Kevin Sagsby and Tawny Langshaw, who were credited as cast. And that's all I'm going to say. I mean, I guess we could say who Kevin Sagsby plays.
No.
Okay.
I don't even know.
We'll talk about that next week, maybe.
Okay.
And anything Shawn says is not a spoiler because he doesn't know the deep lore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't finish the game, so I got a ways in, but I didn't finish it. So
Yeah.
I think it's fun, actually,
Yeah.
that you haven't.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear what happens.
We're excited to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Well, Tawny Langshaw is credited as redacted, so we'll also say Kevin Sagsby is credited as redacted.
Sure.
Sure.
If
Yeah.
that makes sense. Probably not to you, Shawn, but or anyone listening who hasn't played the game. But yeah, I just wanted to put those names out there. I'll go ahead and link their socials in the show notes as well. And then as for accessibility reports, there is an accessibility report that will be linked in the show notes for this as well, done by the Family Gaming Database. So thank you to them, so I don't have to do it.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's about all I've got leading up to our rating. You guys ready to go?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Ready as I'll ever be.
All right. Rylan.
Emma. And now what you've all been rating for.
I forget every time.
I need to have like a special like sign I give you, like a thumbs up or so. I don't know. I always forget until I read the line and I'm like, oh, that's not my line. It's Rylan's
I need
line.
like a prompt, like a teleprompter.
Yeah.
That's just running nothing the whole time and then that pops up.
I'll have one of those signs that they use to like tell audiences
Oh,
to
yeah.
clap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We take into account general considerations such as length, challenge rating, and replayability. We also consider story and narrative topics, including plot, characters, and world building, presentation topics, including graphics and sound design and music, gameplay topics, including content variety and mechanics, and lastly, we consider the overall value of the game. It's crazy. All the other morning episodes we've recorded, I've been like, gosh, I am just like reading everything, like one try, not tripping up at all. This is what happens when you stay up until 12:30 in the morning playing the video game you need to talk about.
It's the horror
next
game
day.
psyche effect.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, and there was times where I was playing, like last night, I was playing and I'm like, oh, it's like 10 o'clock. I'll play until like 11:30, whatever. And I look and I'm like, oh, it's almost 1. Oh, I need to go to bed. Like, it's got to end quickly. So.
Yeah, this game is haunting me. I've been possessed by this game.
Yeah.
But, well, general considerations. We will start with length. Let's talk about how long Rylan and I beat the game. And then, Shawn, how long did you play the game for?
Let me double check because my Steam time actually was correct this time.
Wow.
So, yeah, feels good. Feels good.
Very nice.
She 6.3 hours.
Nice.
That's how long I played.
Very nice.
Yeah, not
Rylan,
bad.
how long?
I played like 10 and a half hours.
Okay, and you beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
I played for 15.4 hours, and I also beat the game.
Nice.
My Steam shows 17 and some change, but I definitely left it open, just
Sure.
like sitting.
Yeah, sure.
Mine has an extra like 9 hours on it from what my partner played previously.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good job remembering to take into account what the time was before. I would have forgotten.
Yeah.
And challenge rating. This was kind of, I don't know. I put mine at moderate, but that's also because I'm really bad at deck builders.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it was harder for me. Rylan, you play a lot of deck builders.
I do,
So
yeah.
you might have a better.
I think this one was on the easier end,
Mhm.
but I think it had good reason to get you like through the narrative a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't think they wanted you to like be banging your head against the bosses too much. Definitely when you first start, but as you get more comfortable,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think as your deck grows, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of push through. But
Sure.
I also suck at deck builders, and so I died a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
Yeah. And I think, there are acts to this game.
Mm-hmm.
Are we okay talking
Sure.
about
Yeah.
just mentioning that there are acts? Shawn, it sounds like you did not get past Act 1.
No, yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
like from what I'm understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were 2 more acts following that. And I would say once I got into Act 2 and 3, I found the deck building and that aspect of the game to get a lot easier. And I think you're right, Rylan, it was to make sure that you could push through the narrative.
Mhm.
But there was still challenging. I mean, I texted you at one point to ask for advice
Yeah.
on a certain boss that I was trying to beat. So yeah, I put mine at moderate, but it might be different depending on how much deck building you do.
Yeah, I think if you're a pro, deck builder, and that's what you do, your game style is deck building games, it probably would be a little bit easier. But
Yeah.
it's just not the genre that I go to often. So when I get into it, it's like, oh, I suck.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting too because in like kind of the meta elements of this game, like outside of the deck building game, there are things that you do in, I guess, basically in the cabin that you're playing with the old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can help you out in the deck building portion.
Mhm.
So like in a lot of deck building games, you might unlock things the more you've played or get like permanent upgrades.
Yeah.
You do sort of get that in this game too. So if
Yeah.
you're interacting with the things outside of the, I guess like the main card game, that can
Yeah.
help you. So
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff.
mhm.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
some puzzles too. Like,
Yeah.
there's some puzzle solving in this game. So yeah, I'm putting it at moderate. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I would say the same for me, at least anyway.
Yeah, moderate.
Okay, cool. Moving on to target audience. The ESRB rating for this game, we've got another M for mature.
Bum bum bum.
That's
Yeah.
2 in a row. Yes,
Whoa.
last game was our first M for mature. Now
We're mature folks now. That's all
Yeah.
we do.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
This game felt a lot more mature
Oh,
to
yeah.
me than this bed we made.
I was
Yeah,
not
me
surprised
too.
at all. But it's for blood language, strong language, strong language, and violence. But other than that, who do you think would be interested in this game?
Well, I think, obviously your traditional deck builders or those
Yeah.
kind of folks for sure. That's definitely the genre. But also if you're like into a horror story kind of thing, then yeah, you could get down on this too. Because I mean, just like Rylan said, you can kind of grow from the deck builder and experience more things. And there's also some puzzles and other stuff to kind of get you through. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if you're into this like gamery horror that's like almost has a little bit of a silly presentation almost. I'm thinking about like the person you're playing against has like swirly bright eyes, you know, and things like that. It makes me kind of think of like Five Nights at Freddy's a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Kind of vibe. So if you're like that, but I also think if you are just into like, if you're just into like gamery games with lots of secrets and like reasons to go back, I think this is a good one for you. I've finished the game and there's so much that I do not know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
deep.
Yeah. Yeah. If you like kind of that meta aspect,
Definitely.
like you guys weren't on this episode, but Doki Doki Literature Club is another seance episode that we did. Much different than this one, but it also had a weird like meta aspect that kind of took place halfway through the game and then continued throughout the end. And it reminded me of this one a little bit. So yeah, if you're into that stuff. But it is a little gory. I was a little overstimulated by I guess it's not gory. I don't know.
In Doki Doki?
No. I'm talking about this game.
Oh. I think that's fair.
I think the gore is more like sound effects than like
audible gore.
Yes, it was very overstimulating to me sometimes. I'm getting so ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I just want to talk about this game, but yeah, just a heads up. It's a little gory.
Yeah.
But and lastly, in the general considerations section, is this game replayable?
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, even while playing it, you have to replay it because you die and then you start over again. So, yeah, I would say yes.
I think so. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say after you beat the main story, you unlock like a mode that's kind of the game, but it has more traditional deck building elements. And I do want to go through and play some of that where you are, you know, playing and unlocking stuff for future runs and stuff like that in a more traditional deck builder kind of way.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about that mode. So I'm going to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that too. I think this is definitely replayable.
Totally.
It's one of those games where you finish it and you're like, shit, I have to play this again. Like I missed stuff.
Yeah, you want to go back and pay attention to things you didn't pick up on before.
Yeah, which is, I think, very cool because it's hard to make a game that someone wants to replay immediately. At least for me, I wanted to replay it immediately, and it's very like plot driven. So it's interesting to have something that you're not really going to be uncovering the main plot in any way. Like that'll all be new, but there was so much other stuff going on that a second playthrough right after your first would be just as exciting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Moving into story and narrative, let's talk about the plot. That was a nice little segue. Speaking of plot,
nice.
Let's talk about plot. Story and narrative kicks off our numbered rating section. So we rate things from 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Where did plot land for you?
I think my rating might be slightly skewed because I did not finish the game. So I don't know all the deets, all the tea.
Yeah.
But I will say that from what I did uncover, it seems like there was a lot going on. Even for just 6 hours is a decent amount of time to put in. And I mean, there was some... It's hard to say. there was a lot of stuff going on. A lot of things that you can find. They definitely built out the story pretty well and in an interesting way. So 3.5 from what I know, because I don't really know a lot yet. So
okay.
Been sitting here trying to figure out my score and how I can present it. I think for me it is going to be a 4. Which I think for different people could be lower and higher. That seems obvious, but like I think a lot of it is like there's a story that is given to you kind of as you're playing, which you're gonna glean so much out of, but there's so much more under the surface as well. And I guess like my question for myself and maybe you guys too is like, if you have to dig like so much deeper to get more lore, like is that considered in your plot rating, or is that just like what you get through playing the game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think I consider that to be plot, but I think it's, for me, a game like this was it was drafted in a way that it pushed you to do those things. It made it exciting and rewarding to do those things.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I think it was designed to have you kind of find the plot on your own in some aspects, but you can also not find any of those hidden gems and still
have a plot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a good call. And I think like, unlike Figment, which we covered a few games ago, where I didn't understand some basic references that were going on in the story, just because I missed some things. This game I did, while playing the first time, have a pretty good idea of what was going on, even though I realized there were tons of mysteries that remained. And I think for me, 4.
Yeah. I gave it a 5, but that's just because I really enjoyed the kind of what I said, the way that there was a main plot, but if you wanted to dig deeper, you could, and you could uncover a bunch of other little mysteries. I was creating like conspiracy theories in my head as I was playing, which is really fun. And so, I really enjoyed it, even though I will say at the end, I'm not even sure that I completely understand what's going on with this plot, but it was in a satisfying way. It's not one of those things where it ends and you're like, God damn it, I didn't figure, like, you're not going to tell me what's going on.
I agree, actually, that it was satisfying at the end, even though I don't understand a lot of it. It felt like it had a full story arc.
Yes. Yeah.
That's nice, at least.
Yeah. So I went with a 5. Characters. Shawn, this is going to be a little difficult because you did not meet all the characters.
Yeah. I met a few of them, and some of the, well, there's the main antagonist from my understanding, and that was interesting. He's a interesting character for sure.
Can we really quick talk about who he is? Because we've talked about him in previous episodes.
We have a
very, very early episode. So this isn't a huge spoiler.
Oh my gosh.
So this guy is Leshy. And if you go back to our second episode,
oh man,
when we covered Pilgrims, we talk about Leshy and the lore and folklore behind Leshy. And really he's just a swamp creature. I think the folklore we talked about on the episode, I should have gone back to listen, but I believe there are stories about Leshy, like luring people to the water,
like
women, and then he'll bring them all the way down and drown them so they can, it's very dark and morbid. But so I thought that was really cool that we were getting
interesting.
Yeah. I didn't even make that connection. That's a great call.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah. Sorry to interject, but continue, Shawn.
No, that's okay. I would give the characters, from what I saw, 3.5, because you're just not the main antagonist. There's also other characters that I met, but only a handful. So, but they were interesting. They definitely create a different dynamic and kind of helped you through the storyline in some senses, because sometimes they would give you clues and kind of point you in the right direction. So that was really fun. So yeah, I think 3.5 from what I saw.
Cool.
So.
It is interesting because like all of these bosses that you're playing at the beginning are like kind of played by the same character, but they do have like their distinct personalities, which is kind of fun. So it's like you're kind of just interacting with like one person, but he wears many masks.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a 3. None of them were like very deep, but they were so varied and interesting.
Yeah.
And even just like the character you're interacting with, I found myself like psychoanalyzing this fella. I'm like, is he just like, did he kidnap me because he wants to like play like board games with people in his cabin? And I'm like, haven't we all just wanted to play, like to do our hobby with somebody?
This guy's just lonely, man.
You ever had a hobby that you're like, I don't have anybody to share this with? And he just maybe took it too far. So anyways, me. Okay.
I was really hoping at the end that it would be like, oh, that was fun. Like a turn, like complete 180. Like, I hope you have a good day. Like, that was great. But no.
Just a weird role playing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny. Yeah. Because like you're playing like the deck building game, but it's like also kind of like D&D. Like he's like has the different characters that he's playing as the DM, and he's got like the map out and everything. So I'm like, man, this guy's really like, he's really into the game.
Yeah.
He just wants a friend.
Yeah. Just wants somebody to play with. That's it.
I give the characters a 4. I really enjoyed them. I wish that there were a couple that I wish I got to spend more time with. But I just thought that the way you were introduced to them was very cool because, Shawn, I guess you did most of the characters, you do meet them in Act 1, just in a different way. I don't know how to say that anything more. Rylan, do you have...
I don't know if I would say most of the characters even.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I can't talk about that.
Okay, so
Wait.
I think there's still, I think there's a decent number of characters that Shawn has not met yet.
Well, because it's the talking cards.
Okay, never mind. You got me.
so I've only met two talking cards so far.
Okay.
And the main
Okay.
guy. That's it.
Okay.
So
We're back. It's hard to explain. This is going to be really hard this episode to talk about it, but even in the first act, technically you do kind of meet most of the characters eventually.
Yeah. I totally forgot.
But I really enjoyed the characters. Even the more meta world characters that you do eventually meet, I thought that was very cool. There's characters that you hear about, but you're never physically introduced to that also kind of weave their story in. I thought it was really well done and very cool. I didn't give it a 5 mostly because I was just pissed off I didn't get to spend time with more of the other scribes.
Sure.
But I wanted to know more about them. But honestly, very close to a 4. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to world building. I gave world building a 5, which might be a little crazy. I don't know if I'm being crazy.
I think it has to be a 5 for me as well.
Oh, okay, good.
Knowing like some of the like deeper story lore stuff that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
Like it just has to be a 5. There's so much of it and it goes so deep. But even outside of that, just like when you've gotten through the story of the game, I think it's really I don't know. There's just a lot to it, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I literally felt like I was in it. Like they did such a good job.
Maybe you are.
Like true. Yeah. I mean, play and find out.
Man.
But it was so well done, and obviously it kind of like worlds collide a little bit in this game, and I loved it. I felt like I was super engaged, super in it because of how the world was built around this game.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like WTF moments that really change your perspective on everything that's going on. Maybe that's a spoiler to say that.
Gosh, I need to play more.
Here's the deal. We warned you in the beginning.
That's true.
We warned you in the beginning. We're not overtly spoiling anything.
Yeah.
But to listen to this episode at all is going to not spoil like major details, but it's gonna spoil little like surprises. Like I was even surprised at the fact that there were more than like when I got into Act 2, I was like, wait, what is going on? I texted you guys and I was like, what is this game?
Well, it's kind of crazy because like I've known about this game, not like I know about it now, but I've known about this game. It's been on my radar basically since it released. Like, it's been crazy popular. It's in like a genre that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how I missed spoilers for it.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because now, like this morning, looking up something about it, like I'm seeing them everywhere.
Yeah.
And I know Zephe had watched our trailer reaction video, and he's like, man, he told me, he's like, I feel like there were spoilers in that video. And I was like, oh, okay, not knowing. But now I'm thinking back to the trailer, and I'm like, damn.
Oh, they went right over my head.
There's spoilers for this shit everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't know about it.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Insane.
So hidden.
Yeah. Shawn, what would you give world building from Act 1?
Yeah, from the perspective of just Act 1, I would say I still felt like I was super immersed in it. I mean, like I mentioned before, I mean, you play it and hours fly by and you're just sucked in there. So I would say the world was well built, and the way that you play through it makes it very immersive. So I would say a 4 for me, even though I have only played in Act 1. I think it was still really good.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's move on to presentation, and we'll start presentation off with graphics. graphics ended up being my lowest rated, weirdly enough, and I think it's for nitpicky things, but I gave it a 3. Mostly because, and I think Rylan, you've talked about this in previous games, I don't remember which, there were portions of the game that because graphically it was kind of hard to see, I actually got stuck and had to look up like what I was supposed to do.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
But turns out it's just what I needed to grab was really hard to see.
Yeah.
And that's a little frustrating to me because I really don't like looking stuff up. And then when I look stuff up and realize that like, oh, no, you were doing the right thing. You just really, it's hard to see. You have to be like in the right position to see it. Bothered me a little bit. And there are, I think for me, there are a couple different graphical styles that didn't mesh well between Act 1, 2, and 3. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Act 1 and 3 are very similar graphically, and Act 2 is kind of a different style. And it didn't mesh. It wasn't terrible, but for me, I was like, it doesn't completely mesh together how I'd like it to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say at least I think there are plot reasons for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's a good call out about like things that you can't like tell if you can interact with them or even see them necessarily. Like I think the way this game is presented just does kind of in itself have like big accessibility issues.
Yeah.
And when I was playing the game, like, so I started on this is kind of a tangent away from graphics, but like I started playing on the Steam Deck, which I thought would be great for this game. It was terrible for this game because you have to use like a mouse basically.
Yeah.
And I think they've ported this to consoles. I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, it's on Switch and Xbox and PlayStation, so I don't know why it didn't translate well onto the...
Yeah, and maybe there is like a better controller layout and I just didn't find it, or maybe it's just not great on those either.
Yeah.
But definitely like you need to... They kind of teach you like what to do a little bit.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you like the controls. Like I needed to use the mouse plus the WASD, and then even then it's like, yeah, you're in a super dark room.
Yeah.
You can't always see, or like it's not obvious what you can interact with.
Yeah.
Especially because there are a lot of things that are interactable. There's also a lot of stuff that's not interactable, and you have no idea until you like mouse over it correctly.
Yeah. Well, and there were times in Act 3, I think, that you're kind of moving across a board similar to Act 1. You're like moving your character across a map, and there are directions that you can go that aren't highlighted, but I think that was on purpose because they're hidden.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it needed to be that way.
Yeah.
It's again very
funky.
nitpicky, and I loved this game. So I might even bump it up to a 4. I think the things that I disliked about the game were so minimal. Like even the graphics, the different graphic styles not meshing together, it didn't really ruin it for me. I think I just preferred one over the other. So
Totally.
having to play a whole act in one graphic style and just missing the other style. Yeah.
Sure.
But
I was impressed with the graphics. Like I'm just going to solely talk about the first section that Shawn is familiar with. Like I appreciated like the way that a lot of the pieces, like you collect like bones when your cards die, and you put like teeth on a scale to like show how far you're winning the battle kind of thing. Yeah, we haven't even talked about like how the card game actually works.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in the
mechanics.
gameplay section. Yeah.
But a lot of times it was just like these 3D objects are just kind of like dropped there, and they move around like randomly, not like a set. These bones that you collect are like basically little coins. They don't stack themselves neatly. They just kind of get like tossed onto your side. And I really appreciated that and thought that was cool that these like 3D objects were just kind of like randomly tossed out there.
You can stack them neatly if you want to, which was fun.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, which is helpful because sometimes you got like a weird pile and you're like, I don't know, 6.
You're like, how many?
For sure.
How many
You're
are there?
like trying to play a card and it's like, you don't have enough. I'm like,
okay,
damn it.
Yeah, I guess I don't have 5. But I thought those like 3D graphics were actually pretty cool, and I think the darkness maybe helped them out.
Yeah.
I think that watching the credits of this game, I think that a lot of these were like Creative Commons 3D objects.
Yeah. We'll post the full credits in the show notes as well, and I'm sure that they included those because they were in the credits. But yeah, it was like the credits were so long
They sure were.
because it was like every single 3D object had its own credit of where it was being used from. Yeah.
Which I thought that was kind of fun because these like random objects like generic pliers or a hammer, I don't know, I'm going with tools specifically, or like the coins, the scales, maybe, like a bunch of this stuff was just like free licensed like, I don't know, 3D objects, I guess.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But they came together in a way that gave the game like a cohesive look.
Absolutely.
Which I was really surprised by how much this stuff was just generic pieces.
Yeah.
I think the lighting probably helped a lot. So I think there was some smartness, some big brains going into that a little bit.
Yeah. That's
it's
true.
a four for me.
Well, and those were my favorite. Graphically, that was my favorite. I didn't like leaving that space. I mean, there are other times where you leave that space and it's very interesting and very cool. But I'm not going to say what that is until next week.
I also did like the art, like in the card game.
Yeah.
I thought those was very like stylistic and cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ditto everything you guys have said. / I really liked the colors that sometimes you would get and that would pop because the cabin is so dark. So when the antagonist like has crazy swirly eyes, it's like pops out even more. Or when you can get emblems on your cards that give you different powers, and so sometimes those would glow and your character would glow up, and so it's like, oh, that feels really cool. So just even the colors, just introducing those vibrant colors kind of changed everything a little bit, made you feel, I don't know, a little bit cooler.
That's a really good call out. Yeah. What was your number rating?
I'd give it a 4, even just from the first act. I thought the graphics were really good. I would agree. Yeah, it is hard to see a lot of stuff in that dark space, but with the colors popping and that kind of thing, I just thought it was fun. So
yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to sound design and music, because I loved the sound design in this game. And the music. It had a couple bops.
Yeah, the one that I heard a lot definitely reminded me of like Diablo 1 in the town. Like I got those vibes where you're just like the single, I don't know, it's not a guitar, but something that was just kind of like playing in the background and made it kind of eerie and spooky.
Like
that
the
was
acoustic guitar.
Yeah, that was fun. And then the different sound effects that were given were I would say kind of not abrasive, but kind of startling. Like it made you like focus a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I give it a 3.5, 4. I liked the sound design. I thought it was good. So
yeah. I give it a 5, I believe. Yes, I gave it a 5. But I like the sound of the teeth dropping on the scale and the sound of the bone coins hitting the table and the sounds of the cards, and there are footsteps in this game at one point. But also the songs, like there's a couple songs, and I found myself like kind of bobbing my head to the music when I was playing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was very well done. I did complain earlier, and I think this is just sound design. This was on purpose, but there are aspects of the game that can be a little overstimulating in a gore aspect with the sound design.
Yeah.
I actually had to take my headphones off.
Sure.
Yeah.
When I was doing certain things, because you get certain tools that you can use to help you throughout the game, but it comes at a cost, and it is gore related, and so the sound effects that accompanied that was too much for me. After a while, I was like, I just can't do this.
Yeah, I really need to use that, but I just can't hear it right now.
Yeah. How about you, Rylan?
I think it's also maybe a 5 for me. I can't think of like the music in a lot of different parts of the game. Although like the the music in like the first boss, like the minor, where you just have that like pickaxe noise in the background.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Like,
so haunting.
Like some of the sound effects they used in this game were just like so top notch. Just to like combine these elements like the pickaxe noise, but like make it part of like the song and the sound of that boss.
Yeah.
Very iconic. Also, like you guys mentioned, like the sounds of like the game pieces and different aspects, which was just like, it was so good. It was like louder than these game pieces would actually be, but they were so like satisfying. It was like, it made this like digital board game like a tactile experience almost, because you could hear everything that's going on so like cleanly and loudly.
Yeah. That's a great point too, because with that louder noise of like, the teeth dropping or something like that, it gives you that more like accomplished feeling, like, oh, we're doing good, or oh no, like I'm not doing well.
Yeah.
I'm getting beat. This sucks. And that emphasis kind of
and even like
drives
there's the teeth when they hit the scales, it makes one noise, and when you have too many and they go into the wooden bowl, that's the best noise.
Yes. Oh, so good. Yeah. There is a original soundtrack available.
Oh, cool.
So go listen to it. It's so good. I wish that I could find, let me see if I can find the one I liked real quick.
And honestly too, I can't think of a lot of the songs that like impacted me, but if I heard some of them, I might be like, oh yeah, there's a little jingle in the third act that I liked quite a bit. You know what I'm talking about?
I know. That's the one I'm trying to find.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
How does it get from so creepy to that? Like,
we'll tell you.
Gosh, I'm gonna have to finish this game when I get home.
Is this the one you were talking about, Rylan?
No.
Which one are you talking about?
I'm trying to find it.
Golly's theme.
I think it was the first one that you played out loud.
Oh, really? This one?
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Called Scalpulator.
That checks out.
Anyways, I'm sure that audio sounds great.
Every time that song came on, I was dismayed and I liked the music.
Yeah. I just, so good. Now I have to go back. I didn't realize there was a full soundtrack on Spotify, so I'm going to definitely be adding that to my video game soundtrack playlist. So, yeah, cool. We're going to move into gameplay now. Who wants to talk about how the actual like mechanics and how you play this game? Because we've talked a lot about it, but not really what you're doing. Especially, we can just talk about maybe the first act. I think that
totally.
that covers most of the mechanically how you're playing.
Yes.
Sure. So mechanically, it's a deck builder. So right off the bat, you know that you're building a deck and you're trying to beat your foes. In the game, you follow a map. So there's different points on that map that will give you different items or cards or battles that you can go into. And so you're following this map, and the DM or the antagonist is creating the story for you about what's going on and what bosses you're fighting and what's happening. So as a very basic level, without spoiling anything, I think that kind of covers it.
Yeah. And your cards themselves, like that you're collecting, they have, like a cost, but different cards, they'll either cost blood, bones, you get some other cost types later in the game. And then each card has a strength, basically it's AC, and then it's, what would it be? It's like attack.
Yeah, it's attack power.
Yeah.
So,
And there's also special abilities. Like a lot of the cards can have 1, 2 special abilities. So you can do that as well. Also, you can upgrade your cards along the way. So there's a lot of things. So
yeah, I think one of the most interesting things I felt about the deck building in this game was at the beginning of your turn, you have the option to draw between 2 decks. Actually, you can draw between like your deck that just has all the cool cards that you've collected. Or there's just like a basic squirrel deck, which is like no cost, 0 power, only 1 health squirrel that you can play down. But essentially you use this to sacrifice 2 your stronger creatures.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a tempo with that as far as like, do I have the cards I need right now? Or should I be looking for a card I need? Do I need to draw a squirrel so I can sacrifice it? Or even just a squirrel so I can block this strong monster that's going to come at me?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that definitely added some dilemma, because there's definitely been some times where I'm like, oh, I don't know which one. I kind of need a squirrel, but I kind of need another card. What do I do? And yeah, sometimes it worked out. Sometimes it didn't work out. So
Yeah.
And there's lanes that you're putting these like creatures into, and they'll attack forward mostly. And so you might be putting up creatures in this lane specifically because it's free and you can get some hits in, or because there's somebody there that you want to kill or you just want to block. But basically you're trying to get 5 damage through to your opponent before they get 5 damage through to you. And it's on a scale system, so it tips. So if you do 2 damage to me and I do 2 damage back to you, now our scale is back to 0.
Yep.
It's cornhole rules.
Cornhole rules.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that cornhole rules?
I think so.
Oh.
The point system evens.
Oh, yeah,
evens
you're
out.
right.
Yeah.
It's basically cornhole.
It's basically
If
cornhole.
you know how to play cornhole, you can play this game.
Spooky cornhole.
Spooky cornhole.
Dark cabin cornhole.
Yeah. There's some really frustrating like powers some of the cards can have, though, because some of them can have like the flying ability, which means even if there's a creature right in front of it, it won't attack that creature. It just deals damage directly. Like it kind of goes over and attacks like that creature's not there. But I would accidentally put things there and not realize that it was flying and put it there with the purpose of killing the monster on the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, God damn it, it's not even gonna.
And then your flyer gets killed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've like wasted my flying card.
Yeah, I think like what's nice about this game is like the basic rules of like how to play cards, like how the lane system works. It's very simple, but it's those interactions with like the different abilities on the cards and like their relative powers, and you can see what your opponent's going to do on their turn, what monsters are coming in, plus like which card you're going to draw. Really make it like interesting and thinky. Like there's definitely some times where you are like looking at the cards in your hand and looking at the board and looking at the cards in your hand. You're like, there's options, but I don't know what the best route forward is.
Yeah.
Like, do I think if I just start, hitting them for 2 every turn, is that going to be enough?
Yeah.
Or do I need to like pivot and try to kill their creatures first? So
Yeah.
Well, we usually talk about mechanics after content variety, but since we spent so much time talking about the mechanically how the game works, do you guys want to give your mechanics rating?
Sure. Everything worked well for me. I didn't have any issues with the gameplay or the deck building or anything like that. So I would say, 4. Everything worked fine for me. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's a 5 for me. I thought the deck building aspect was pretty fun. It really, like, if you were familiar with like Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone, like this is going to be really easy to pick up, and it's just going to be a fun, good time. And it was really smooth.
Yeah, I gave it a 4, but I mean, oh gosh, it's such a toss up. Like 4, 5. I'm very torn, and I probably could have gone either way. I think I gave it a 4 just because there were just some aspects that I found user error and that's my bad. So maybe it's unfair of me to do that. But the amount of times that I accidentally got up from the table because I was trying to like, it was like I was using the keyboard and I thought I could like look at my hand, but I didn't have my hand drawn yet. So to hit the backup button, which usually if you have your hand will pull your cards in front of you, just stands you up from the table, and it's not inconvenient at all. You just sit back down. But little things like that would irk me throughout. But I think that's a little bit of an unfair read on the mechanics themselves because it's user error. So I'll go with a 5 as well. I'll try to keep my own, because it's my fault.
Well, no, I think this also like harkens back to like the accessibility thing, because there were things that I couldn't, like, you're looking at the game board, and sometimes you can look like to the left and to the right, or like forward or back, like. And it was a little bit unclear, especially like if you're on the Steam Deck. Gosh.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
I can't
I'm
even imagine.
sure.
But because I was kind of switching back and forth between those mediums, like sometimes I'm like, I don't know how to look at the scales right now to see like how close I am to winning.
Yeah.
Or like, thank goodness you could hit the bell to end your turn without having to look over there because of that same thing. Like, I don't know, the left and the right were tricky for me to remember, like, how do I look over there? When am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Sure.
Wait, could you look left and right while you were playing the card game? Like you know what I'm talking about? Like when you're doing you're at the table, you're playing cards down. Could you look to the left and right?
You can't like look like directly to left and right as if you could when you're like kind of walking around the room. But you can like kind of tilt your head to like see the scales and stuff.
I never did that.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And I think it was easier for me to do on the Steam Deck for some reason. I can't think of what the controls were, but I think you can usually see like the scales when you're looking at your hand. When you're like zoomed out a little bit to look at your hand, and you can see your items better that way too. But I think you can tilt your head more to look at those things as well. And that's the thing. Like I think on mouse and keyboard, it wasn't as obvious to me how to do that.
Yeah.
Or I just am bad.
I just never tried. I could see everything well enough.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
There was also some stuff like there were parts in the game where the character player's hand is like in the way of a card.
It'll cover like the amount of power it has.
Exactly.
I'm like, God damn it.
And I'm like, I think it's a 2, but maybe it's a 3. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll keep my mechanics at a 4. It sounds, I feel like some of these things did bother me for.
You feel validated.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel
Good.
validated. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's hard to tell if I'm complaining about something just because I don't like it. Like I was talking about, I was complaining about that book I was reading, and the biggest reason I hated it is because the chapters were too long. And I was like, that's not really like that's
valid.
I don't know. I mean, but it feels a little petty. It's like you're reading it for the book, but and I should be okay stopping my reading in the middle of a chapter.
Yeah. No, I mean,
That's hard, though.
I feel like the gameplay, the strategy, the deck building, etc., all that stuff is like rock solid, I think. But there are like some awkward aspects around the outside that you may have to find yourself battling with. But I mean, still.
The moving around in the 3D space once you weren't at the table, when you were kind of like walking around the cabin in the first act and walking around elsewhere in the third act, it really reminded me of Myst.
Yeah, because it's like almost grid based.
Yes, like you were either looking straight ahead, straight to the right, straight to the left, or right behind you. Like there was no in between.
Yeah, you're like 90 degrees every direction.
Yes, when you play Myst, there were so many times that you're moving to try to get to see something on the wall, but you've stepped like one step too far. So when you look to the right, it's like a whole like 3 feet to your left, and you're like, God damn it.
That happened. Like back up, 90-degree turn forward, 90-degrry turn. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love Myst, so that's not a negative for me. I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Last thing. I did appreciate, because I did this on mouse and keyboard, that a majority of the time I could just use my mouse and be super lazy and just kind of use the scroller and scroll in and out. So that was really nice if you were doing that. So
that was nice.
I was lazy and I did that a lot. So.
Yeah. And then, let's pop back to content variety. I honestly like doing mechanics first. I think I'll switch that from now on. So when we get into gameplay, we can talk about how the game works. It just flows better. But let's talk about content variety. What did you guys rate that? 1 to 5.
Well, it's kind of interesting as we're talking about this, especially the first half of this episode. I was reflecting on like how like Emma, you and I are talking about things that are more like outside of like the mechanical gameplay, whereas like I think like Shawn, that maybe is more your focus, because at the point in the game that you're at, like that is the focus, is like that card game. So I think it's like actually decently high in that and in that it does evolve as you go too, like what you're doing. But even in that like that kind of like first half of the game, on the map that you're traveling through as you're playing the card game, there are a lot of different stops that do different things. And so you have a ton of different options. You can really build your deck in different ways. You see different cards. There's the whole meta aspect of it, of what's going on in the room that changes and evolves. So I think there's actually, I mean, for it being a roguelike deck builder, I think there's quite a bit more variety than that describes. So I think I might even go a 5
Yeah, I also gave it a 5. I thought it was. I'm curious what you give it, Shawn, because I will say at the point that you're at, it was much lower for me. I was, I was like, okay, like I like this game. It's a little repetitive, but as roguelike deck builder games tend to be, wasn't terrible, but it was not a 5 until you kind of break into the second act and it really cracks open the story. Even I think I think it's the end of the first act that things start really
getting crazy.
Yeah. So I gave it a 5, but I would not be surprised if yours was
I mine would be a little bit lower than that. I think I feel like it's a deck builder for sure, and in the place that I'm at, there are some puzzles that are outside of the deck building world that you're playing in that I have experienced. There's different tools and things that you get, but it's kind of just a deck builder at the moment. Like, I'm learning the story a little bit more, but I haven't obviously flushed out everything yet like you guys have, so I haven't got to experience all that variety. But I still say 3.5. There's still variety within it. It's just I haven't gotten to all the crazy stuff yet. So
certainly. And before we move on, I think Rylan, you said you had one more mechanic topic you wanted to talk about.
And I think this one's actually a really, really big one that I don't want to miss, especially talking about in this first episode, for people that maybe will listen before they play. And that's that, like, so Shawn has played quite a bit of this game, like hours wise, but he is like, quite frankly, Shawn, you're stuck. Yeah. Because 100%. You don't know what to do. And you've been given hints about it, but you have not gotten there. You've played what, like 6.5 hours or so?
6.5 hours.
My partner was 9 hours in, exact same situation. So it's interesting because I actually, when I first booted up this game, I didn't think to get rid of her profile. So I just started playing. Luckily, I was very close to getting spoilers, but I didn't.
Oh, good.
So my first like 45 minutes that I played this game, it was in her profile, which was probably pretty similar to where you're at. And I think the issue is that you need to do specific things in like the meta of the room to progress in the game, and it's just, frankly, it's not very clear. So, and because of like the way this game is, you don't want to look things up because there's all kinds of crazy spoilers. Like, how do you word this? Like, and so like, I don't think it's like Shawn's fault that he's been playing so much and hasn't gotten forward, just like it's not my partner's fault. I think this game does have a flaw in that it doesn't hold your hand or guide you well enough through certain aspects. And we'll talk about this next week, especially like we're going to branch off in the story and like talk about what you don't know yet, Shawn. It's really going to start with that, but I do think this game has a big problem. And I don't know, Emma, if you had the problem as well.
I was just about to disagree with you.
Oh, okay.
Well, just in the fact that for me, it wasn't a problem.
Okay.
And I think we've talked about this previously. In puzzle-related games like this, I don't want my hand to be held.
Sure.
I love, like, and I think because I like, my headspace goes to Myst where they don't hand you anything.
Yeah.
Even getting handed those little flashes of it'll show you an item, immediately I was like, I need to do something with that item. I did not have any issues getting stuck with solving the puzzles in the room, getting the items. There was one thing that I used it and then it gave me a clue, and it took me probably 2 rounds of dying before I could figure out what the clue needed me to do. But I didn't struggle with that. But again, I don't think that, I think you're right in like depending on.
Well, I think that's a good call. Maybe like a middle ground. Like if there's something that you can go to for a little nudge, but like you're intentionally asking for it. I just, to me, like, not having experienced that myself, but it just feels like a flaw that like more than one person that I know that have played this game have been stuck on the exact same thing and not able to progress.
Yeah, I will say
for
that
hours.
I will say that I was stuck for quite a while on one section. I needed to do something with one card, and it took me a while to finally get that card to do the thing I needed it to do because I kept killing people. And so I couldn't get the one thing I needed to finish what it was needing to do, and freeing something. because I kept fighting people that would either go directionally, so they'd go either to the left and right,
Oh, yeah.
Some
or
cards move.
or it was like a person that hit for 1, and it was like, oh well, this kind of sucks. Like now I have to wait X amount of rounds before I can do what I need to do. So I definitely fell into a rut of that, and I died a few times just trying to do that, and so
Yeah.
Well-
We'll talk about what you need to do to move forward. And I think it's I don't know.
It's tricky because the way this game, I guess maybe it depends on what your expectation is, or like how it's presented is like as like mostly about the card game, where maybe this is a spoiler, is like I don't feel like the game is about the card game at all.
No.
yeah.
No.
And that's kind of like a transition point that you kind of have to realize as you're playing. But I think, I don't know. For me, I'm frustrated for the people that are stuck here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's unnecessary, I think.
I think that especially like I'm playing Blueprints. I always say Blueprints.
I always call it the Blueprints. So.
The Blueprints. Playing Blueprints right now, when I was streaming, there was someone that was watching me that had asked if I had played it before, and I was like, no, completely new to the game. And they were like, oh, okay, have you played games like this before? And I was like, well, I've played Myst, and this feels very similar. And they're like, oh, okay, if you've played Myst, you're fine. There is a certain genre of games that if you're not used to playing them, I think it becomes a lot harder to switch into that mindset of, oh, I have to kind of like, I have to do things that I wouldn't like originally think to do to try and solve these puzzles. Like they're kind of out there. And this one did hold your hand a little bit. Because it would give you flashes of like things that you were supposed to use to solve a puzzle, and then I don't know, I have no idea.
Yeah, like I see what you're saying. I guess it just I think it depends on the expectations. Like I feel like this game, to me as well, like it mostly presents as like that card game. So I'm looking for things that are going to help me in the card game, or I'm looking for like. I don't know, like things within the card game.
And so I don't play deck builders.
Yeah.
And so the fact that there was a non-deck builder part of the game, I was so excited to get out of the deck building aspect. So when you do get a flash of an item that you're supposed to be using, I was up from the table. I was like, fuck this game. Like, let me figure out how to get this item. I was messing around with everything. And then, you use the item and then it kind of changes the game for a little bit, but you're still sitting at the table, and then it's like, do I need to get up from the table again? Or so I think for me, because I was so excited to be away from the card, the deck building aspect, that might have been why, because that just wasn't.
And that's totally fair. Like I think that like one of the awesome things about this game is it doesn't fit into the box of a genre. Especially like looking back at it after beating it, I'm like, I don't know what I call that. Like it's narrative and it has mechanics, but that's I don't know. It's one of the cool things about this game is like you can't necessarily use your like knowledge of other games and game types and game styles to figure it out. It's its own thing.
That's
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah, I would say that I needed the most help with the deck building aspect of this game, because that's not my mindset at all when I play video games. So let's talk about whether this game is worth $19.99, and then we'll talk about our final ratings.
We're bringing more of this discussion in the next episode. I'm just gonna say, because I have so much more to talk about.
I know. It's gonna be like a 3-hour episode next week. No. So when this game's not on sale, it is $19.99. Is it worth it?
Yes.
I would say yeah. I had a lot of fun with it, and even with not completing it, I still want to go and finish it. So I think it was definitely worth the cost for sure.
The fact that this game is $19.99 and this bed we made was what, $25?
There's the hatred.
Crazy. Oh my god. And I won't. That's all I'll say. But like,
UFO 50 is only $25.
I think that it's worth, if you enjoy most of the 50 games, then it's worth the value as well. But $20. Sorry, Rylan and I can't talk about UFO 50. It's gonna drive a wedge between us.
Shawn, hold me back.
I'm sorry.
No, I think $20 is super fair, even for just Act 1. And after you've beat the game. It really you unlock a version of the game that is mostly Act 1, but like more.
As far as I know, I haven't done it.
I haven't
too much,
either,
yeah.
but that's kind of what I read about it. So just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, and I gave this a 4.9.
Whoa.
Very, very close to a 5 for
Wow.
me. I really
Dang.
liked this game.
Very cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite a 5 because I don't think that I'll actually go back and replay it, but I'll be thinking about it a lot. And I would probably, people that enjoy the horror style games that don't dislike that, definitely would be recommending. I just thought it was really cool. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Where are you guys at?
I enjoyed my time with the game. I really thought it was fun and very immersive. And even with its creepy style, especially playing at 11 o'clock at night and the lights are out and it's creepy, just for the vibes, it was awesome. So there's definitely a lot more that I need to experience, but I think from what I have experienced, I'd give it like a 3.7, 3.8. I thought it was fun, but I think I need to experience more to get the full effect. So
Cool.
Yeah, I think for me it's a 4. I think it's very excellent in what it's doing, but I think like I just have some beef with some certain things that we'll talk more about next week. That I think for me personally, certain aspects don't work.
Interesting.
gotcha. Okay.
All right. We'll tune in next week. We're really going to dive into this game. It's going to be
Spoils.
awesome. This episode has been so hard to record, just not being able to talk about
Yeah.
anything.
This maybe is the most challenging game to talk about that we've recorded, I think.
Yeah, but we're going to spoil it all next week. So join us next week. But this concludes the rating episode for Inscryption. We're doing our discussion episode next week where we'll dive into the details of the game and all its hidden gems. If you haven't played the game yet and this sounds like something you may be interested in, I hope you find some time to play it before tuning in next week. Please go and give the podcast a follow, rate it, review it, however you want to show us love. You can email us with any comments, questions, or constructive criticism at letmebeyourgg@gmail.com. You can also send us game requests if there's something you'd like us to review, just like Zephe did for this game. Make sure to include game request in the subject line so it's easy for us to find. You can find us on most socials as Let Me Be Your GG, and we're on Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and that's Let Me Be Your GG with no spaces, LetMeBeyourGG. And you can find us on TikTok as Let Me Be Your Game Guide with no spaces. Our Patreon can be found at patreon.com/LetMeBeYourGG. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to see you next week. And thank you so much for letting me be your game guide. GG, y'all.
Bye.
Bye, Zeffirino.
Bye, Zephe.
Bye, Zephe.
I don't know. That's why it sounded like.
Was that a reference to something? Oh my god.
What? Yeah.
Is it? No. I mean, like the froggy part. I know.
Oh,
the song.
no. Just the way that
Is that
Shawn.
an original composition?
Yes. The way that Shawn said it, it just reminded me of that song.
Yeah.